Today, we sat down with Karen and Blair from Kwik Lok based in Yakima. It's a leading producer of bag clips in the entire world, producing billions every single year. If you've ever bought a loaf of bread or a bag of produce, you've definitely come across their products. Sarah from the Association of Washington Business joined me as a co-host, and we talked to him about how a family-owned business keeps innovating decade after decade, navigating a global regulatory environment, and of course, how they're using AI. All right. I'm here today with Blair and Karen from Kwik Lok, and we're going to talk about some of the major initiatives they have and some of the background on the company. So why don't we kick off with what brought you to Kwik Lok?
Okay. Well, Kwik Lok is a privately held company that's headquartered in the Yakima Valley in Washington State. And we're actually a woman-owned business, and we're in our third generation. So we've got plants here in Washington. We have a plant in Canada, one in Indiana, Ireland, Japan, and Australia. And we make these things that I can show you that most people have seen before. These things that you find in the grocery store on most of your bakery and many of your produce items. And sometimes you'll find them in other stores as well. So that's what we do. We make billions a year. That's who we are. Blair, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And thanks, Jason, for having us today. And yeah, we make some of the things that people don't think about. And I've been here for about a year and a half, going on almost 2 years now. And I had never heard of Kwik Lok before I came here, and then I realized, wow, this is the company that makes these things, and I love these clips. And then when I came here to Yakima, I was sold. It's just an incredible company with a 70-year history that Karen mentioned that we just hit, and the people, the culture, the owners' pure desire to continue to grow this company with an incredible culture, focus not only regionally but globally, and really focus on growth and innovation and the customer and diversity. It's an incredible place. So
Yeah, and what's unique, as you mentioned, is you are a family-owned company that's been around for 70 years, and yet you continue to innovate. So tell me a little bit about that.
My goodness. Well, we've got a strong engineering department located here in Yakima, although innovation happens at each of our locations. And we also work, we have a materials lab, and we have chemists and other material scientists that we work with. And also a big part of it is our partnerships. We work with like-minded people in collaborative ways, like working with the U.S. Plastics Pact, working with the Canadian Plastics Pact, working with Ann's Pack in Australia, working with the Sustainable Packaging Coalition, both to understand, where is regulation going, but not to reinvent the wheel. How do we work with other companies that are all trying to do the same thing, really to make the difference? Because the issues around plastics being in places they shouldn't be are not things a single company, even regardless of they're large or small, is going to solve by themselves. But I'm going to let Blair add to that, because he'll definitely have a whole different perspective.
I think that's well said. And our engineering team is pretty incredible. I've been around several in my career, and we have a dedicated, tenured team that's just really focused in looking at how do we continuously make improvements to what we have that aligns with the market needs, the customer needs, and to be able to deliver that systematically across the globe. That's the opportunity. It's also the challenge to really get new solutions to life, and thinking about the sustainability, the material science around it, and then having that work at a competitive price and that can deliver the value that our customers need is absolutely critical. And I never in a million years would have thought how much goes into that clip. There's a lot of technical pieces to it, from the engineering side, which is massive, and then all the way to the production floor going to our customers. And then we have machines that run these and actually install these products, and the assurance that our engineering team leaves us so that we know that these are going to work consistently in our machines with all different kinds of environments within the bakery world, within the produce industry with many different types of bags and sizes and bread types and produce from apples to oranges, potatoes, carrots. It needs to work well in all these different applications. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that many of us probably don't think about on a daily basis, but our commitment to that consistency is pretty incredible. And that's a testament to why we've been around as long as we have.
And I think, just to add on, one of our tenets when we're coming up maybe with a new consumable product, like a new closure variety, is that it needs to run in the machines that our customers already own. We're not building things just to mean that, they have to replace their machine in order to run that new material. It has to run in the machine. We might have to do some slight adjustments, but ultimately they don't have to, have a new investment in order to run the material, which is, a big deal. And we take it pretty seriously because it's important to our customers. If they're going to move over into a new material, that it's got to be something they can do fairly easily. Their margins are slim, and they need as much help as we can give them when it comes to adopting both new technologies, new materials, that kind of thing.
The material science side of it, the machine aspect of the closing machines that actually run all the various closures and the various materials, and then really the automation and the digital interface that needs to occur starting in our factory, but also from the machine to even printing on the closure that ties into traceability, that ties into FSMA requirements, that ties into a digital interface for marketing. We focus in all those areas. And then also just when we look at those, there's a lot of levels between all of those that we're working on that are continuous improvements with all those pieces so that it can work consistently throughout all of our sites. And then most importantly, to our customer sites that we mentioned just a minute ago. Karen, what would you add to that?
Definitely looking at the tracking and traceability, those are pretty important. I think one of the things that's kind of crazy making for customers worldwide is the wide variety of regulations that are creeping up, both in the areas of sustainability and environmental impact, but also food traceability. One of the roles that we play because of the kind of business that we do is understanding what's going on in a global perspective and really advising our customers so they can plan and think about where they need to be, not just today, but in the future with their products. Again, helping them collaborate both with us, but also with other players that can help them solve their problems. It's really important to build that partnership in that community, which is sort of a subtle innovation, but it's really important because you need to stay on the forefront of what's happening and you have to be paying attention in order to bring those benefits to your customers. Sometimes they don't even know that they need to know these things. They may not even be aware. It's, when we'll go to a trade show and we'll find out that some customers that we know are going to be impacted by a regulation may not even be aware that it's even coming towards them because things are just happening at such a quick pace. They have lots of things on their radar. They're trying to balance this kind of thing along with staffing issues. We had supply chain issues during the pandemic. It's been a real onslaught of impact. And one of the values we can bring is looking at that 360-degree view and saying, okay, we get that your world is really busy. Here's some of the things we think are going to come, and when they're going to come, here's how we can help.
And I know you sell your products in over 100 countries, if I'm not mistaken. How do you manage and track regulations across so many different jurisdictions?
That is a super big challenge. One of the great things is that we do involve ourselves, not just as members, but also sitting on committees in a wide variety of organizations. Everything, from the International Floral and Produce Association, and the bakery associations, to also things like Sustainable Packaging Coalition, which has a global worldview, particularly in public policy and public affairs. We also involve ourselves with specific organizations, that are like educational institutions, things like that, through some of the work we do. So by involving ourselves in that, we're getting a pretty good idea of what direction the wind is blowing and can help people. We're not perfect at it. Obviously, we're not a public affairs association or anything like that, but I think we're pretty aware of what's going down, and we have to be. Our sales team is in all of these countries. They're doing their work. They're picking up on things while they're there. They're hearing things from their customers and also from our own suppliers.
Yeah, and we have to streamline. We have to streamline certain things at our headquarters to make sure we have consistency with the products that we make across every site. They need to be the same. They have to work well in all of our equipment, so the customer again doesn't see that difference. And then you have the cultural aspect that, as Karen mentioned, needs to be managed at the local level. So we have very good boots on the ground that keep their ear to the ground, and then also a part of the associations that really help us. And then our job, whether it's here or in all the countries that you mentioned, is to give our customers that information in advance. We have to be one step ahead of those regulations so that we're proactive and that we can bring the solutions forward to the customers before it becomes a reactive situation. And these things are changing constantly throughout the globe, so we really have to be ahead of it, which is an opportunity for us to really stay one step ahead of everybody else in the market.
With the international regulations, right? So some countries may ban certain materials. Do you guys find that that's a challenge keeping your product consistent because each country has different laws and regulations?
Short answer is yes. And Europe has its own set of regulations. Australia has its own set, and the US has its own, Canada has its own. All these different areas have their own. And then thankfully, though, there is consistency in certain areas. And when one area goes, typically another will follow suit. And then we have the benefit of seeing what's happening there and being able to make sure that we test, that we validate, we retest, we revalidate those solutions in the market to make sure they're going to work, because it can get very disjointed very quickly if you're just launching solutions, to the market just to meet that regulation that everybody's jumping to meet. We have to be very careful, very methodical and systematic about how we do it to make sure that it's going to work properly in our customers' operations. I can't overemphasize how critical that all that aspect is to it.
I think a really important tenet is using science to back up all of our innovations. It's really easy for people to label things, and that can really create a lot of murkiness when it comes to sustainability claims. I think it's really important to be clear with customers, even if they're looking for something that doesn't necessarily exist right now. We need to be able to help them understand what is available. How can they, rather than maybe taking a direct straight line, how can they do a zig and then a zag to get there? There's a lot of misinformation out in the marketplace, which is creating real problems for the industries as a whole. So taking on that responsibility to make sure that when we create something that we're backing in science, that we're making sure that it does meet the requirements to be able to use the labels or the end of life options that are out there.
And the labeling requirements I know are pretty strict these days, especially in the United States. You have to list everything nowadays. I don't know if that's how it is in other countries, but I know that that's a big deal, is you have to label every little material that you're using on every label. I don't know if that's how it is consistently across all your guys' locations or not, but I'm sure that's another large regulatory issue.
That's another opportunity, Sarah. That's how we look at it. It's another opportunity to add value to the customers with the solutions that we have. And what's fun about it, actually, and what we talked about innovation earlier and where we're going. I think we've got Kwik Lok has gone from these this physical closing machines to closures to close bags of bread, close bags of produce to this technology and digital interface piece to where we can, as Karen mentioned earlier, that we can meet those regulations for FSMA, requirements to track the product, and not only track the product, but then have a marketing interface that you can continue to communicate with your customer. They can look at the traceability piece, that they can look at recipes, really ways to engage the consumer over and over again in a very inexpensive digital way, comparatively speaking to other forms of advertising, is something new that we're working closely on. And it's really exciting, right? Going from this physical to this digital piece is a big focus for us because the world's changing, right? We interact with everything on our phones, and we have to do it in the most, we have to be secure about how we do it. And so working on, very strategic partnerships today to really launch those initiatives forward is a big focus for us as well.
Talking about innovation in digital, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention AI. Is that something that plays a role in your strategy?
Short answer is yes. AI is evolving, for everybody. So I think in its basic form, using Chat GPT, not to give that a plug, and helping us do our work more efficiently, more effectively is something that, that we've been doing since we had the opportunity. And then it's taking it to another level in form of, we're working on a new website as an example, and how do we create content in a more efficient, streamlined way with, digital interfaces as well, to where the time that it takes to do these activities goes down significantly. How do we tie that into our customers and ordering parts more efficiently, streamline the communication with customer service? These are all opportunities that we're looking closely into. And so AI will definitely play a part of that going forward. To what extent, we're not exactly sure, but certainly it's going to have a part. Karen, what would you add to that?
I think it's definitely, we want to use it where it makes sense. And we already are in a wide variety. I can't think of anyone who isn't using AI in some way at the moment. And so we need to do that. But we're also really aware of protecting our customers, making sure things stay secure. And so it's like that balancing act of utilizing it as much as possible, but not stepping over that line where you could be endangering any IP or just, creating a situation that isn't as secure as anyone would like. I think that's pretty important. But it's definitely opening a lot of doors and windows, and it's very exciting. Particularly as a marketer, it's really exciting. And I know in our engineering department, they've been utilizing AI-based things for quite a long time, and looking into where AI can benefit customers and customer service, both and technician support, that kind of thing.
Kwik Lok is a very storied local company with a rich history in the Yakima Valley, but at the same time, you've got an international presence as well. And so you have a unique perspective. What are some of the benefits and maybe some of the drawbacks of being in Washington?
Well, when Flint Paxton first invented the original Kwik Lok, he was not in Washington. He had been here for a visit and was asked to solve a problem for the apple industry at the time, which was, hey, we are moving to poly bags and we need to have something that will close them. He went back down to California, came up with the idea for the original Kwik Lok, and realized he needed to be where his customers were. And the apple industry, the potato industry, other fruits, you think of tree fruits, they're here in Washington. So he co-located up here. We still benefit from that. The relationships that this company has developed and maintained over decades, super important in terms of understanding the really big needs of the customer and what keeps them up at night. It's not just being able to have a meeting with them, but maybe running into them somewhere and understanding the daily impact of their world. I think it gives us a definite advantage to be able to co-locate where a big portion, you think about the number of apples that come out of Washington State, we get a lot of great information just from being here and seeing how they do their business.
Thank you both for your time, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks a bunch, Jason. It's been great, and look forward to talking with you again sometime.
Likewise.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Very nice meeting you both.
Nice to meet you.